Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is for you around the world. My name is Rachel Schoenwald. I'm here on behalf of HiBob, and I'm excited to welcome all of you to Smart Training Strategies for Growing, Build, Buy, or Blend. Before we dive in, just a quick note, this is being recorded. We will send out the recording, any materials that are relevant to you after the webinar, whether you're here or not. So you can always come back to it and reference it later, share it with somebody else, and also join future webinars that we'll be hosting. For those of you, we're going to go ahead and do intros. My name is Rachel Schoenwald. I'm the Senior Marketing Campaigns Manager here at HiBob. I grew up in Oklahoma, and a fun fact around me is that I won blue ribbons at the state fair for ceramics. You just never know. Let me go ahead and pass it around to our other co-presenters. First up, Ken.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ken Matos. I'm the Director of Market Intelligence here at HiBob. So I'm an organizational psychologist by training, and I work to help us understand what's going on in the world of HR and make that meaningful for all of you and how you plan what you do and do it better. Fun fact about me, I have two very cute little dogs, a bagel and a chug.
Thank you. Sophia.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Sophia Lim Oliver. I'm our Director of Leadership Development at HiBob. I feel like I have the best job in the world. I get to wake up and help our leaders and our team succeed and win and thrive. Fun fact about me, I live in Wimbledon in London right now for any tennis fans that might be watching. Unfortunately, I'm not a tennis fan and I wouldn't know a tennis player if they came down the road and hit me on the head. So a bit lost on me. But thanks for that, Rachel.
Amazing. Thank you. So glad to have you here. Yael.
Hi, nice to meet you, everybody. I'm the head of global learning at HiBob the past 6 months. And a fun fact about me is that I did a twist in my career like 3.5 years ago, moved from many years of HR, OD, L&D to the other side of a startup company working with HR from other companies with business development and customer success. And this is actually how I met HiBob. And then 2 years later, started working here and so happy to be here.
So glad you're here. And Lisa.
Hi, I'm an L&D partner at HiBob. I'm based in Portugal. I have been a Bobber for the past almost 3 years. And a fun fact about me is that I started my career as an architect, building houses, and now I am helping people building their careers and growing and development, and it's been amazing.
That's incredible. What a turn. And it's a big day for Lisa. We're rolling out our own learning platform. Bob has an LMS in it, and we are rolling ours out today. And so Lisa's got a big day, but big snaps for her, big kudos. We're really excited about this internally at HiBob. Okay, so on to our agenda. First, we're going to give some context. Actually, I'm going to pause. We're going to put a poll out real quick while I explain the agenda. So the context, Ken will go through why L&D matters in changing world, kind of level set and give a story for us all to move forward when we're thinking about build, buy, or blend, and what kind of strategy you want to implement. We'll also talk about the core insights of how to actually work through figuring that out. And finally, we'll have conversations with all three of our additional guests, Sophia, Yael, and Lisa. They've each done a program in the past year at HiBob. One was a build, one was a buy, and one was a blend. So we'll go through each of those with them as a case study. The chat is open. We'd love to hear from you. The Q&A is open. If you have questions about anything, please talk. We want to hear you. We want to interact. Some of us will be chatting with you as well. So go ahead and hop on in. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Ken.
Thanks, Rachel. So I'm here today to quickly talk a bit about the context of the world today. There's a lot happening, and it's important to remember why L&D really matters, even though a lot feels very different. So first really big and important thing, and probably everyone on this call knows this to some degree, but L&D really drives organizational outcomes. Research has consistently found that having the right skills opens the doors for employers. Whether that be an average 218% higher income per employee when you have a comprehensive training program, or 24% higher profit margin than those companies that don't. So when we look at companies that are investing in L&D, we see actual outcomes that they are trying to achieve. On the flip side, we also see a world that is shifting quite fast. The World Economic Forum is predicting that a huge proportion of tasks are about to be automated with the advent of AI and agents, and about 60% of workers are expected to require retraining. All markers of the importance of L&D work to help people be able to rise to that new occasion. It's also really interesting to note that about 2/3 of companies are saying they have a skills gap that they are not prepared to fill. They don't have the training resources to address it and really need to figure out how they're going to get their employees ready for these moments. And I think probably the most important statistic on this slide is the last one, which is that experts suggest that what's going to happen if you cannot fill these roles is there's going to be a poaching war. So when you don't have new people being trained, the ones who already have the knowledge end up getting a hiring premium in their salaries. That could inflate wages 10, 20, even 30%, depending on the size of your local job market. And so if you want to make sure that you are not paying that premium, investing in a better economy of scale for learning and development programs is going to make sure that your organization thrives while others are paying the price for outsourcing their learning and development to employees directly. And outsourcing that kind of L&D is something that we've been doing for a while now. So I really like looking at the history of an area when I'm exploring it, because we often feel like things are totally new, but actually we've been kind of heading towards this moment for a while. We began with a corporate-led training era where a company said, this is what you learn. I have a training session for you. You show up, you learn it, you advance, everybody's happy. It's very rigid ladder. Then they decided, actually, I know what I want you to learn, but it's cheaper if you go and get that training through some third party. This is when MOOCs, boot camps, certifications all began to really pop up and explode, absorbing a lot of the training investments from organizations. Then we headed into a more employee-led era, where companies were saying, your growth is yours. You figure out what you need to learn, and if it's valuable, we'll hire you and we'll pay you for it. But we don't really necessarily know what you need to learn in a highly agile market, and we don't necessarily want to cover those costs. And so a lot of learning and development shifted over to employees. Now we're at the advent of an AI-led era where people are asking the question, who needs to know anything at all? Can't the AI just do it? Well, yes and no. There's a lot of studies that are coming out now, but few are as clean as this study by Boston Consulting Group, where they looked at consultants who were using AI and who were not using AI, and found that, yes, AI improved performance for AI-trained tasks. Things that AI was good at, you saw some big gains, especially for below-average performers. But for things that AI wasn't necessarily good at, say, listing a bunch of legal cases that support your brief, it often led to lower performance, either because the platform hallucinated or people just didn't pay attention because they assumed that it was going to work. This is a concept called cognitive offloading, which results in people not really managing the AI effectively because they trust it the way they might have trusted a search tool. And so L&D is going to be really important even in an AI age, partly because there's going to be an ongoing need to make sure people are learning those things that AI is not trained for or necessarily great at yet, but also because of the trend of history. We've seen repeatedly that when a new technology comes on, first adopters gain a competitive advantage for a short time. After a while, the competitive advantage always reverts back to that which is dynamic, which is your people. And so while people may be very focused on this idea that AI will do it, that's only going to last a little while before we start having different things that we need done that AI doesn't do, and we put people back towards those tasks. So learning and development, regardless of what's going on around us, is not going anywhere. So how do we go about deciding whether or not we're going to do our L&D in-house, out-of-house, or find some mix? Because while AI is not going anywhere, it's still radically changing how people are investing in this moment, and budgets and other information are driving really hard decisions about where you're going to do your learning budgets. So the next couple of slides are going to be a bit dense. They're really meant to be takeaways, but I'm going to cover the core ideas before turning it over to our panel of colleagues who are going to talk about how these things influenced their decisions, whether they were thinking about it explicitly or not at the time. So when we're talking about building programs, it really comes down to you have a lot more control. You're able to get really detailed and also save costs if you have spare time capacity from people. If you don't, that can create some real challenges, as you might be pulling employees off of work to teach other employees, which means projects get delayed, or you might just not have that knowledge internally, and so you need to go outside. On the other hand, when you're buying a program, you might get some really good quality, but it's probably somewhat generic. It's going to cost more if you want to customize it. It can be very expensive to scale. And if the vendor disappears, what are you going to do? How do you repeat it if you no longer have access to that content? So when you're thinking about building and buying, it really is a question of like, what are the risks and what are the opportunities that align to your moment? AI also fits into this conversation. When we're thinking about knowledge, researchers often break it up into 3 buckets of explicit, tacit, and implicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge is basically whatever you can just convey in a few sentences. They're facts. AI is really good at that. And so as you're thinking about what trainings you want to build, you're going to want to be thinking about whether or not you're just doing a lot of explicit knowledge, which says maybe you want to build a GPT or something that makes it easy for people to just look up facts and figures, and focus more energy on tacit and implicit knowledge, which are much more about educated guesses, building intuition, helping people read a complex situation in real time. And that's built primarily through personal experience. There are AI tools that can help with that, but that's the area where I think in an AI age, learning and development is going to really find a lot of opportunity to invest energy. Finally, when we're thinking about what to do, there's 10 questions that I like to flag to somebody when I'm coaching them on this choice that help them think about whether or not they want to lean more towards building, buying, or blending their training strategies. And the next slide will make it really easy to sort through questions 2 through 10. But I always like to stop and pay attention to question 1. What I find a lot of L&D people struggle with is they build these really elaborate, valuable, meaningful training programs, but they don't necessarily know how to show that it had the impact that was intended. And so before building anything, I always flag it's really important to know why you're building it, how you're trying to change the organization, and how you're going to show that that made it money or helped it achieve its mission. If you don't have that, it's a good moment to pause and figure that out before you build the training, because how you build it will tie very directly into how you measure its impact. We have a full training session on how to measure impact of HR activities scheduled for next week in a webinar with HRCI. So feel free to check that out and sign up. But as I said, those other 9 questions can basically be bundled up into this chart. For example, if you find that you have a lot of very highly customized information you want to send to your employees, you just put a big X in that box. But on the other hand, if you need that training really fast, you might put an X in the external by training needed ASAP box. Go down the list and you'll quickly see whether or not you are tilting more towards building something internally, buying something from without, or blending those 2 pieces in order to create some value. Note that sometimes you might weight one or more of these things more than others. For example, if the training has to happen tomorrow, it can outweigh any build conversation. So this is just a tool to get you started, make it easier to get everyone aligned on the basic concepts for the decision, and then move from there. And so with that, I have presented just some basic tools that can help you carry the lessons that my colleagues are about to share with you as they talk about the programs that they've built. So with that, I will turn the stage over to Sophia.
Brilliant. Hello again, everyone. And of course, as I start talking, the sirens going through in front of the road in front of my house. So hopefully you didn't hear that. But essentially, I'm really excited to be here with you because I've been lucky enough in the past 5 years to be leading leadership and talent functions in rapidly scaling tech companies, right? Companies that are going through massive growth and transformation. And then before that, 10 plus years in people and organizational consulting across the world. And what I really wanted to share with you today is our leadership code. And just to give you a bit of background and context, maybe give me a +1 in the chat if you've heard this quote before. What got you here won't get you there. All right, so very, very famous quote. Give us a +1 in the chat if you've heard that before. And some of you may know that that was said by the famous executive coach, Marshall Goldsmith. Yeah, I'm seeing a few come up. Wow, that's quite a lot. Yeah, it was Marshall Goldsmith, right? That famous executive coach who said, what got you here won't get you there. And as successful and rapid as HiBob's growth and transformation has been, we are continuing to grow and scale really, really quickly. And so what we realized is we needed a very strong shared language for what exceptional leadership looks like at HiBob. Not just for today, right? Not just for right now, but something that will really support us over the next few years as we continue to grow, something that sets clear expectations for our teams, our leaders, supports us having that really strong feedback culture, and also helps our leaders to build that stronger self-awareness, that deeper self-awareness. But how many competency models or leadership models have you seen come and go, right, in your own careers in HR or learning or talent? How many behavioral frameworks have you seen launched, right, with great excitement at the start, or maybe potentially some cynicism sometimes, right? But over time, it just fizzles out, right, all too quickly. And a few years down the road, people go, oh, this was something we talked about for maybe a minute. And then we stop talking about it. So it's happened to me quite a few times. I'm sure it's happened to some of you. And if you're anything like me, you're frustrated, right, by the gap between that intent, that amazing positive intent, and the impact at the end, right? So what we wanted to share with you today is some learnings around when we launched our own leadership code, why we were very intentional about seeding in 3 very critical things that make all the difference in making any competency model or leadership model truly have impact. And that is co-create, activate, and make it stick. All right, co-create, activate, and make it stick. Do we have a leadership code on the up on the slides? Brilliant. So what you'll see come up in a minute is our logo around the leadership code, which is crafted from the inside and built for where we're going next. Right, so this is all about co-creating. We say that it was crafted from the inside because when we started to think of what these behaviors for exceptional leadership could look like, we went to leaders across countries, across teams, across functions, across levels, right, to really get their input on what that looks like for right now as well as in the future. And then we went to our C-level and our VPs to prioritize it. So it started out as a very, very long list, and we wanted to be really intentional and focused about what that looks like. And then lastly, we say that it's built for where we're going next, because in addition to those inputs, we also looked at our company vision, our strategy, our market differentiators, our culture, our context. Right, so you can see that there was that inside out lens as well as that outside in lens as well. So that was the co-create. You can see here that leadership code stands for connect, own, disrupt, and evolve, right? So one thing that's really important to remember when you're rolling out any type of model is how do we make it really sticky, right? And by sticky, we mean how do we make it really easy for people to remember? So right away, right off the bat, people knew code stood for connect, own, disrupt, and evolve. We had a little bit of an internal joke that it might have stood for caffeinate in the C, right? O is for overwhelm, and so on. But it's clearly sticking. So let's move on to the activate, right? So the second really key ingredient. Again, sometimes people just announce it, right, with great excitement, and then they kind of hope for the best, hope that people will embrace it. And what we did, and this is in line with the reason why this is a build story, is we designed and ran highly interactive workshops worldwide, not to teach the code, right? Because you can't really teach this kind of thing, but to help leaders connect to it, right? To really internalize it and make it their own. So it was not an easy lift, right? It was, I think, 18 workshops or 20 workshops, over 300 leaders worldwide. So really highly customized content. But the reason for that really fits in with the criteria around build that you saw in the decision framework earlier on, right? That buy-in, that change management was absolutely critical, right? This is about making people connect to it and embrace it rather than thinking, oh, you're doing something to me, right? The expertise was there in the sense that we knew that our people partners who we partnered with to on the talent and learning team to roll this out, they know the culture, they knew the leaders, they knew how to tweak the content slightly to fit the different needs of leaders in each country or for each location. I did have a bit of a laugh because one of the criteria was urgency, and under build it was ample time to plan and iterate. And if you work in a scale up, you know that ample time is a bit of a rare thing these days. So it wasn't ample time, but we realized that the moment that we focused on the goal, which was really about connection rather than content, it actually became really, really easy, right? So just to give you a couple of examples, we asked them to think of their own real life examples of the leadership code from the leaders that they see around them. We gave them a code card deck for self-reflection and feedback. So this is just an example of what it looks like. And it was really these guided self-reflection prompts to help them think of what are those red flags, what are those reflectors and thought-provoking questions that I could be asking myself, and what are some tips, right? Micro tips that I can go away and really start to do the next day or the next hour. And essentially another couple of things that really worked well for us is that we asked them to plug those reflections directly into their upcoming performance reviews. So at HiBob, we call our performance cycle high growth. And that we timed it very intentionally so that the launch of Leadership Code happened just before high growth, so that straight away leaders felt like they were getting a chance to reflect, which leaders often don't get to do these days, and then they could take those reflections straight away into their performance and feedback conversations, right? So it also starts from the top. We ran these workshops starting from our C-level, our C-suite and VPs, and magic happened, right? Our C-suite of VPs, they got so excited. We had leaders volunteering, coming to us saying, we want to sponsor the Leadership Code workshops in our own locations, which was absolutely amazing and made us really, really excited to hear that, because that was really showing us that that buy-in was happening. So activate is the second ingredient that I was just talking about. The third ingredient is making it stick, right? Or if we talk about co-creation, activation, then the last one is making it stick-ation, as we call it. And this is about embedding that leadership code, any sort of behavioral model, into all of your people, practices, and processes that have relevance. So for us, we knew that we needed to embed code into onboarding, hiring, performance, right? The high growth conversations that I just talked about, our talent reviews, our leadership journeys, our playbooks and tools for leaders, because it's only through this hard, sometimes unsexy work, right, of embedding that leaders can really see that it's not just words on a page, it's not just that amazing excitement at the start, it really matters, right? It matters to me, it matters to the leaders that I report into, and we're also making it easy for them to keep activating and talking about the behaviors that matter, right? So that was the making it stick. Takes a long time, but absolutely critical. So just to recap, that was co-create, activate, make it stick. And in terms of the impact, we are of course still in early days, but what's amazing is that we're already seeing that shared language happening across our leaders. We hear our leaders actively talking about the leadership code. They come to us and say, we're running an offsite or an onsite for my leadership team. I want to be talking to them about the leadership code and what it means for us as a team. And in fact, leaders are telling us that this is resonating even with their team members, right? With their individual contributors in terms of clear expectations. So that's, yeah, a little bit of a story, an example, hopefully that was helpful to you as a bit of a really strong example of when to build.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sophia. If anyone has any questions for her, feel free to put it in the chat or the Q&A now, but I'll go ahead and kick it off. And also reflect back as a HiBob employee. I think one of my favorite things about being in marketing at HiBob is getting to partner with all of you, talk about the things, you know, in market and all these best practices, but then see it and experience it at the company. So for me, this high growth was actually very different because we also started a GPT to help everyone self-reflect. Was the leadership code also blended into that, or were those two separate projects for now?
Yeah, what's really interesting is that leadership and talent are not, in a way, two separate things, right? There are two sides of the same coin, and being able to connect the dots between the two is absolutely, absolutely critical for success. Yeah, so one thing that was really important for us, for our leaders to experience, is to hear the leadership code embedded into high growth. And also, as they were completing the GPT and so on, to be pulling out that feedback, right? Those points around, you know, what does it mean for me in terms of my strengths around the leadership code, and what does it mean in terms of my stretches around the leadership code? Now, of course, by using GPTs, by using AI, that makes it easier as well. And what we know is if something feels easier for our leaders to do, the likelihood of uptake and adoption is going to go up.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I saw it also in my reviews from my managers as well, which was very exciting. So you said that it's early days, and we see that there's a lot of buy-in. When you're thinking of, you know, a year from now, what do you want to look back and see? Where do you expect to be? Or if you don't know, how are you going to figure that out?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rachel. And because we like to be real at HiBob, right? I'll be the first person to put my hand up and say we're still very much on that journey in terms of measuring success. We're lucky that we have that sort of almost secret weapon of working with Ken, right, in his role and his expertise. So we've been actively working with Ken to get his advice on how can we get better at measuring success. But if I were to bottom line it, one thing that would really tell us that we've been successful 1 year on would be our leaders are still actively talking about leadership code. We've got that deeper self-awareness of what their strengths are, what they need to move towards, and we've got a really strong growth mindset where they see it's not that what we've done before wasn't successful, it really was, but this is what's going to take us to the next level, and how can we have some really authentic, courageous conversations that help me as an individual as well as help my team know how to get there.
Right. Ken, are you comfortable kind of speaking to a little bit about how you're helping Sophia measure this? What kind of things you're looking at? Do the analytics and HiBob and Bob platform help?
Absolutely. So a lot of it is identifying the constellation of things you want to affect. So one of the things I really appreciate from code was the nature of the conversations I have as a leader have changed, and that things that I was identifying as challenges to scaling that weren't explicit in conversation now are. Like, it's like, yes, I can now talk about that without it being an accusation to someone else, because it's bigger than them. It's something we're solving together. And so that's the sort of thing you might measure through a survey. You do some focus groups with people, identify that that's a dynamic that's happening, and then you use a survey to be able to say, is that common? Great. 20, 30, 50% of people are saying that their conversations have shifted in tone towards this better place since code was released. That would be like one way of showing value. Others are things of looking at like, are people adopting code? Ask some teams, hey, surveys say your team is really invested in code. All the employees say that they're connected to it. Is anything actually better? Like, are the teams that are talking about it and using it actually completing their product creations a bit faster? Or are we finding fewer bugs? There's a lot of different things you can connect as you think about what is it that better leadership is supposed to impact in your organization. You're not going to see everything. Some things are going to take a while, but if you give yourself a lot of different potential shifts, you create a lot of opportunity to find the things that are moving quickly and long term.
So it sounds like, kind of as always, it's a mix of quantitative and qualitative data. And so you need to find out, where you can diagnose things, but also get the real story about what the impact is, because you're not always going to see it.
Absolutely. And I think you do see it. It's just being able to identify those things that are in conversation and then say, what are concrete representations of this conversation having an effect? I like to call it the impact of your intervention or your training, which if you can show that it's changing something about the way you do business, then you can say, is that new way of doing business actually more profitable?
Yeah,
Love
what I
it.
love about that is that success breeds success, as we all know,
Yes.
right? So being able to tell that story around this is starting to have an impact. This is really starting to reach the audience in the way that we want it to reach them. Then that creates that momentum, and even those who might have been, off the bus, then want to get on the bus, hopefully.
Yes, definitely. Love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Sophia. And let's move on to our next program, Yael.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the invitation. I'm so happy to be here and to share with you the strategic decision that we had around buying an external learning solution as part of our AI implementation and adoption journey. So we at HiBob are deeply committed to embedding AI into our daily work. This is actually one of the strategic, maybe one of the most strategic company-wide programs for this year. It's supported by the leadership and it's driven through really cross-functional collaboration. We have a dedicated AI team under business technology that their job is to implement and adopt AI internally. We're not talking product-wise or development-wise. We're talking internally to Bobbers. And we, as the L&D team, are working closely with them on all the strategy and the implementation journey. And the main goal for this journey is actually around the mindset, around how to use AI, when to choose AI, how to utilize it into your best practices, and of course, only working with the tools that are allowed and approved by the company. So that's a whole mindset around how, why, how much, and we support this with a big system of leadership. We have AI leaders that were certificated by the company to support the processes in the different departments. And over the last year, we've launched mixed of learning formats as part of this journey. So we had, of course, self-paced content, and we had live tools trainings. And I think the highlight was the hands-on departmental AI workshops under the brand that we have that is called Bob Skills. You probably saw it on the screen. These are the cross-organizational workshops that we have. We launched the AI Mind workshops. And during these workshops, the participant had the chance to learn the best practices for the Bobbers. And then how to use, how to build agents that work for them the best way. And also the chance to have a live practice during the workshops. It was a very practical one. And I think these workshops stood out because of, one, they were tailored. They were built by us alongside with our external chosen partner. And when I say us, by us I mean us and the AI team and some AI leaders from the different departments. So it was well connected to the needs and to the so the specific needs of the company and the strategy, the AI strategy, but also specific departmental needs. So each department had a different different workshop they had. The beginning was general because it was the learning part of the best practice, but then people just brought themselves the use cases that they're going to solve during the workshop and actually practiced on how to build their own agent that will work for them with the support of all of us during the workshop. So one was really, it was tailored, working together with the external vendor, the external partner. Second is it was iterative. We refined the workshop based on feedback. So the first workshop ended, we collected the feedback and then went back to the vendor, did some improvements and went to the other workshop. And then I guess the last one was probably the best. This is how it is. But it was really important for us to improve in time and be better every time and more practical and tweaked to the needs. And then the last thing is that, maybe not the last, but the third one that I'm going to share is that it was supported. Each team had a certificated AI leader from their department that was instructed how to work, how to prepare them before. There was a lot of preparation before the workshop. So the final hour and a half, 90 minutes of the workshop will be very accurate, very pinpoint, very dedicated to being practical and to learn as much as we can during this time, because we all know how hard it is to bring the people to spend time learning. But on the other hand, we all know that if we're not going to do it, specifically with AI, but with other skills as well, then we're going to be late because the world is running, AI is running. So it was also very much supported and got a lot of resources and energy around it to make it stick. And so maybe you will ask yourself, why buy if we already have so many strong internal AI expertise, right? So the answer is pace and depth, I guess. AI evolves fast and teaching it requires a lot of technical mastery and sensitivity to the change and being able to answer hard questions and to work with the people with whatever they bring to the room, to the virtual room. So we knew that to deliver this, we need, impactfully, we need really external expertise, that this is what they do. We do what we do every day, and they do this every day with lots of companies around the world, and they have a benchmark and a lot of knowledge and experience. So this was the reason to decide to bring the external vendor to work with us. And they did bring cutting edge knowledge and facilitation abilities that did the job alongside with our internal work before, during, and after. But, and this is a key, and it's a real but, even when you buy external solutions, it's still critical to ground it in the learning, to ground the learning in your company's culture, in the company's tools, in the company's business needs and goals, because otherwise it would be just something generic that is not correct to the needs. So even when you buy, you still need to work on it. It's not like a shelf solution. You need to work on it to sew it to be the right fit for your company needs, and even specifically to your different departments that have really different needs. You can probably imagine that the development department and maybe the product departments are on a very different place from maybe other departments that do less usage of AI on their day-to-day. And this is exactly why we're doing this process, to push everybody to more usage, to be more advanced and more curious on using AI. And so for us, buying was the right solution or move for this specific need. But again, it was a strategic decision, but again, combined with a lot of wrapping and sewing for the right solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've already got some questions in, which is exciting. So the first one is,
because it's AI.
Yeah.
We have to have questions.
Well, it's practical AI. When you don't talk about practical things, there aren't a lot of questions.
Yeah.
How many employees were included in the workshops?
So probably, probably very high percent, not probably, I know it's a very high percentage. We just ended it a while ago, but probably over 70 or 75%, maybe even 80. I want to
Mhm.
say, I'm sorry, I don't have the accurate number, so take it as
So we'll
a,
say probably
yeah.
1,000 out of our 1,300 participate, right?
Maybe. I don't want to. Let's get back with the with the real data. I'll be happy to
Closer
do
to
that.
1,000 than 100. We
Yeah,
did
no,
help
I'll
more
be happy to do
people.
that, but I do want to say that it wasn't an easy process, right? Because when you bring the solution, you need to suit, you need to work with the people, you need to work with the different departments. Some of them are very anxious, and some of them, like you brought the example from the marketing, that it was an amazing workshop. Other departments found it we needed to work a little harder to suit to be the right solution for them, but there was a lot of excitement and a lot of good feedbacks that we received on these workshops. And I think the main thing is that people are actually using, we see them using the creating agents and opening more requests for POCs, which was the main goal, and feeling more comfortable with the usage, which was the main goal for us. So.
Yep. Awesome. So next question is, what kind of prep was expected from the attendees
Yeah.
prior to the workshop in order to show up?
Yeah, so the AI leaders that we certificated and prepped for this worked with the departments on coming to this workshop ready with already a clear idea of what they want to solve, what's the pain point that they want to solve using AI, and some basic bullet points for them to build and to develop during the workshop in order for the agent that they're building to solve their problem or at least minimize it. If we're if we're being realistic, it's not like a magic, okay? It takes time, it takes training on us, but also on the agents. AI is something that we're all still learning, but the preparation was mainly about coming prepared with a solid idea of what you want to do. And then during the workshop, they had very clear instructions on how to build the idea, how to fill the form that will be sent to the AI team for them to actually support the initiative.
I will say, I'll go ahead and admit, I'm a bad employee. I just rolled into that training. It was like, hey, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And not prep or anything, and I still got so much out of it.
Yeah.
The collaboration between people, just coming up with ideas. I'm on the marketing team. The marketing team has a very broad set of skills. Like, we all do very different things.
Yeah.
But in this session, it really addressed all of us, and it was designed in a way to where we could all put our challenges in and build an AI solution for it.
Yeah, it won't be a cliche to say that we did take this into consideration, that marketing is like it's a title, but there are so many different roles in it with different skills that they practice every day. So that was part of the preparation. And that's the advantage of having the first part as a generic part that anybody can relate to and find the interest and the relevancy. But then the second part was really very personal. You could bring your own ideas and your own needs and get the tools to develop it. So,
Yeah.
and thank you. I'm
And
very happy to hear that this was a
and we're
good
also a very
experience.
global team. So we got the chance to kind of be with coworkers that we don't always get to see. Just virtually all coming together is always nice, even though it's hard to schedule. I know that our session was specifically about building ChatGPT agents. Were there any others that were used, or was that kind of across the
No,
board?
that was the goal, the unified goal for the whole company, because this is how we operate. I mean, we can do a whole other session on how we implement and roll out the AI in a HiBob. I think it's too long to put into words now, but the goal is for as many POCs, ideas, and as many agents that work for you to be active, to be activated and active with the support of the AI Mind team, for us to have solutions on our day-to-day work, to spend less time on admin tasks and more time on the real things that each of us is doing. And this was the goal for everybody, but obviously different agents, different projects, different ideas and needs. That was
Yep.
the beautiful thing about it, that all of us can do the same activity, but for different goals and for our own personal needs. So
Exactly. I love it. I also want to call out, I'm a huge advocate and fan of having ICs and non-leadership people in these, leadership and guild roles. Because
Yeah.
we were just talking about how Sophia was launching code. And then if you came to those same people at the same time, it's like, yeah, but how are we going to do AI in your department while they need to do their job, while they're in back-to-back meetings, while they're managing people?
Yeah.
There's not enough hours in the day.
That's a very good point. And our AI leaders are actually, some of them are leaders, but some of them are ICs that really had the opportunity to shine, to bring their knowledge and their initiativity and their leadership, because not only leaders have leadership, right, skills. So their leadership into AI and lead really important and significant initiatives. So I love your point. I think it was a good opportunity for us to let ICs shine. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So we're going to wrap up AI, though. Again, I'm going to put in my last plug. I am very critical of most programs and things that come out. All the ones that we're showing are ones that I've done and are all really amazing. What's really special about the AI Mind is that our CEO, Ronnie, and our entire C-suite is just so on board with having us all adopt AI, use AI. Not only in the product, that's a whole other conversation, but like you said, in our day-to-day work, we really see it as a cutting edge, as something that's important and something that they're investing a lot of money in for all of us. Being very clear, we want you to learn this to help, HiBob, but yourself, this is for your own personal development. And I think that, putting all of those things together, you can't just have one program. You need to have the groundswell behind it. And that's why you see so much success on this. So
Yeah. And
thank
thank
you
you.
for your
Good to know.
leadership.
Next time I will consult with you on the next program that I'll build. That's a great knowledge. Thank you, Rachel. I'll take
Thank
you
you,
up for
Al.
it.
All right, let's
Thank
move
you.
over to Lisa, who's doing our hybrid.
Yeah, thank you. Hi again, everyone. So today I'm bringing you a use case for this blended, like an in-between buying and building. And I'm going to talk to you about the Cultural Intelligence Awareness Program. But I would love to start by giving you a little bit of context. So at HiBob, we are very proud of our culture. It's a culture of proximity, mutual respect, collaboration, openness. Our values are focused on the uniqueness of all individuals and how together we can build an exceptional company and an exceptional product. So we truly value our people and the way we connect with each other. But as we grow and become more mature, and also as we expand our geographies and we buy other companies, we struggle to keep our culture as it is, as we value, and that is currently part of our DNA. It's challenging, and we are starting to identify some friction in places that for most of you that work on organizations like ours, you will find it also. We are finding some friction within communicating across teams, managing different work styles, people's cultural background. So to anticipate major issues, we decided to tackle cultural intelligence. Because we wanted to make this topic part of our culture, and because we know that this is a sensitive topic, and also because we wanted to be able to scale and deliver this program anytime, anywhere, across all sites and across all our departments, we decided to build it. However, we needed to ground it to a model or to a framework that could give it accuracy, that would be validated and certify the quality of the program. So we needed to buy something external. And that's what we did. So we decided to buy the backbone. And in our case, it was Erin Meyer's Culture Map. It's a research-based model with the structure and validity that we needed. It provided a clear language for where differences tend to show up. And I can give you examples of communication, evaluation and feedback, persuading, leading, deciding, building trust, and so on and so forth. And it helped us move from fuzzy conversations into more real and directed and bring awareness to all of our bobbers. Then we build around it. We didn't just lift a deck. It wasn't just to make it look and feel like Bob. It was really, really tailored to our brand, to our tone, to our stories, to our individuals. As I said at the beginning, this is a sensitive topic, and we wanted people to see themselves in this program. And now I'm going to tell you about how Blend really shows up in this program, because we buy and we build, but then we make it in pieces. We made it modular. Think about it as a set of tiles, and each tile focus on one or two culture map dimensions. And this means that if a team is struggling with feedback or decision, we can use the evaluating piece or the deciding piece, the feedback, or for improved communication across geographies or meeting different time zones, we can use the scheduling piece or the communicating piece. So we can mix and match the right pieces for the right audience and for the right purpose. But we went even a little bit further, and to make sure that this was scalable across all the company, we did a train the trainer. And now we have trainers at all sites and representing all our HiBob departments. These internal facilitators are equipped with facilitator guidelines and HiBob branded materials, and they also have like a certification provided by Erin Meyer and HiBob together. So they can run the sessions anytime, anywhere. How has it been so far? We have a very positive feedback. Teams all over the world tell us that the framework gave them words for things they have been feeling for months, but they couldn't really make it tangible. So I think that until now it has been a success. Linking it to today's team, we buy, and we lean on a valid research-based framework. We build by tailoring it to our reality. This is HiBob only. This cannot be shared with any other company. And we blended and we trained our internal facilitators to really use these modules according to the business needs or the people's needs. And for us, this was not to, this is not a procurement choice. You know, it's really about using this learning strategy to bring cultural impact across all HiBob. And this is cultural intelligence in a nutshell. I could
Amazing.
talk about this for hours and hours.
I could too. I participated in the workshop and I absolutely loved it. Before we move on, I just want to have us open up our final poll since we only have 5 minutes left. Yes, this is so incredible for us because we're a global organization. I don't know, we got like 20 offices. One of our offices, I heard, has over 40 nationalities in it. Is that correct?
Yes, it's true. Our Netherlands office has multiple nationalities. Yeah.
It's a lot of cultures. It's a lot of cultures together in an office. And so I also think it's kind of hard to identify this as, you know, if you see friction, no one's going to complain, oh, so-and-so is from another country, or, you know, I don't like the way that people from this country do something. You're rarely going to hear that. You're going to hear, you know, complaints, friction, escalations, that kind of thing. So being able to identify this, you know, and diagnose this as one of the places that we need to invest as a company, I think is, you know, very, very thoughtful and very forward looking. So in terms of the train the trainer, how is that process and who did you pick to be trainers? You know, we were talking about having ICs, you know, step up into leadership roles. Is this something that's owned by HR or how have you worked with other departments on it?
Now we work with all the departments. The project is owned by our talent and learning team, but we partner with all the people partners because they know the operation really, really well. And we actually, we open, I'm missing the word, I'm so sorry. We open like a way for people to apply to be a trainer, and they
Yeah.
have to commit to specific things and to deliver such many hours of training and to participate in the certification process because this also requires being certified. And within the selection process, we made sure that we would be having people from all across all our sites, different levels of the organization, and making sure that all the departments would be represented.
Amazing, amazing. And what have you, I know that this launched a while ago. How did you track its success? What kind of metrics did you look at? Were you able to, or is it more qualitative?
It's hard to track this because this is really about changing behaviors, and it's hard to track or to make it visible in business results. But we can identify by the number of incidents that we have reported. For instance, we can understand that there was a decrease on the number of incidents based on cultural differences. So that's one tangible metric. But it's really about following up with teams a long time and see what has changed after the workshop, if they are improving. And when I say teams, it doesn't mean to be, it's not only business teams. It can be a team in an office. It can be a group of individuals that are together for a specific purpose and that are feeling friction. And we follow them over time to see the results.
Mhm. I can say, oh, go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say, I want to like give Lisa the credit that she deserves in having that metric, because to what we were talking about in the presentation, if you start by saying we're doing this partly to reduce the number of incidents, you have a goal that you can measure, you see that it happened after you did the training, and you can also then say the estimated cost of an incident that goes to a legal dynamic is X number of dollars. Our probability of that goes down with every incident that doesn't occur. And so there may be some fuzziness at the final pieces, but being able to just articulate this training is meant to have this impact. We saw that impact happened, and we have lots of research that says that impact can save us money is actually a really strong argument that you can present with a lot of confidence.
Yeah. And also that that's preventative, which is probably one of
Yeah.
the hardest things to, I mean, not just in HR, across the business.
Yeah.
We're not, you know, reducing that risk is a huge thing. I can also tell you, having gone through the workshop, for us, our department was going through some huge change management at the time. And so just having, and we were in, I think 7 different countries. So just having that to come together kind of made all the change management moving forward easier because you don't have the extra friction of any kind of cultural misunderstandings. And then there was a lot of like, oh, so that's why. And just the clicking, so everyone can
Yeah,
kind of
that's so
understand.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
one of the
it's one
feedback
thing.
that we hear all the time, it's something like, oh, so that person said that because they do it like for them, this is the way they relate, or this is the way they do something. So it's, yeah, a lot of aha moments. Yeah, aha moments.
Wow, moments.
And that's the important of that first question is if you do a little bit of the research work of like, what are the ways in which cultural disconnect creates friction or problems for our business? You can pre-measure that with either a survey or some other techniques in your tools, and then see if that went down. So there's a lot of really great things you can do.
Yeah. On that note, on that positive note, thank you to all of you for sharing your stories, your insights, your wins. I really appreciate working with all of you. I appreciate sharing this with all the people on the call who are interested in this. I hope everyone was able to take something away. As we said, we'll be sending out this recording, so keep an eye out for that email and hope that you'll be able to join us for future webinars. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks, Rachel.
you.